The year 2020 marked the final stop for the Ford Fusion. How did it happen that a sedan, which just 10 years ago was successfully competing with giants like the Camry and Accord, suddenly disappeared from the market? Today, we will explore the technical features of the Fusion and assess how reliable this car is if you decide to buy it for the long term. This is the Long Last channel, and let's take a ride. Let's start with the most problematic engines, the 1.5-liter and 1.6-liter Ecoboost. These engines are very similar in design and share common issues. The main problem is coolant loss. Signs of an impending issue include a drop in antifreeze levels and white smoke from the exhaust pipe. If the problem is caught early, you might get away with just replacing the head gasket. Otherwise, the engine can suffer severe damage. Coolant sprayed around the engine bay, sudden power loss, and overheating all point to serious breakdowns. After the warranty period, an engine in such a condition usually isn't salvageable. The design with cuts between the cylinder often leads to cracks, which start appearing around 100,000 miles. In 2019, Ford acknowledged the issue and replaced the cylinder block with an upgraded version, but even it doesn't always handle overheating well. Burnt valves or pistons are also quite common. This results in increased oil consumption and the appearance of oil stains on the engine. The causes can vary, from faulty injectors to poor quality fuel. Like coolant leaks, this issue usually arises after 100,000 miles, though it's less common with the latest engine software updates. The high-pressure fuel pump, HPFP, also draws criticism. Due to a design flaw, its pusher wears out by around 120,000 miles, which can lead to camshaft failure. Despite the timing belt and cylinders of these engines having a good lifespan, significant drawbacks such as high thermal stress, direct injection, and a large number of plastic parts create an impression of the engine being disposable. The lifespan of these engines is around 100,000 to 140,000 miles. So a car with such an engine should only be considered if it has low mileage or a recently replaced engine. The 2.0 Ecoboost engine is less prone to issues like coolant leaks and head gasket failures compared to the 1.5-liter and 1.6-liter engines. Statistics show that such problems occur 4 times less frequently with the 2.0-liter engine. This is because these engines originally use a cylinder block with solid walls between the cylinders, which better managed the issue of leaks. However, starting in 2016, Ford decided to implement the same cutouts in this engine, which predictably led to coolant leaks and engine overheating, often resulting in irreversible damage. Signs of an impending problem include engine knocking, a check engine light on the dashboard, and white smoke from the exhaust. Notably, these symptoms may disappear after the engine warms up, but that doesn't mean the engine is fine. In such cases, it's crucial to see a mechanic immediately. Error codes P0301 or P0302, indicating misfires in the cylinders, may suggest the presence of coolant in the cylinders. The last digit in the codes indicates the cylinder number where the issue occurred. When these codes appear, it's recommended to let the engine cool down and check the cylinders with an endoscope or by pressurizing the coolant reservoir. As with the 1.5-liter engines, Ford acknowledged the issue in 2019 and replaced faulty engines with new ones featuring an upgraded cylinder block with solid walls and cooling holes instead of cutouts. For the 2013 and 2016 models, there was a problem with piston damage caused by faulty software. An update was later released, and the issue became less common. If you're considering purchasing a car from these years, make sure to check if the software update has been applied. Overall, the 2.0 Ecoboost can be considered more reliable compared to the smaller engines, but its longevity depends on timely maintenance. Oil should be changed every 7,000 miles, along with the oil filter. The oil pan plug should be replaced every third oil change, as its rubber can dry out over time. The air filter needs to be changed every 15,000 miles, and spark plugs every 40,000 miles. Special attention should be given to cleaning the radiator. If you live in a state with year-round good weather, it's sufficient to flush the radiator every 3 years. In regions with snowy winters, it's recommended to do this annually after the season. The estimated lifespan of the 2.0 Ecoboost engine is around 180,000 miles, and its reliability can be considered average. It must be acknowledged that Ford addressed its mistakes, but the trust in Ecoboost engines was shaken. It seems the company understood the risk and decided to play it safe by adding a tried-and-true engine to the lineup, the Ford S7CB, better known as the Duratec 25. This power unit is essentially a variant of the Japanese Mazda L5VE engine. The use of port fuel injection in this engine eliminates issues with carbon buildup on the intake valves. The design is quite reliable, and the internal components are not prone to significant wear. However, even this engine can be damaged. The quickest way to do so is by using poor quality oil or changing it very infrequently. In such cases, the piston rings can become stuck, leading to rapid wear of the cylinder walls. Increased oil consumption may indicate this problem. For an owner who takes care of their vehicle and performs regular maintenance, this engine is almost trouble-free. It's truly a solid engine that can continue to run without major issues, even after 250,000 miles. In 2017, Ford decided to equip the Fusion with a 2.7-liter EcoBoost engine, giving the sedan impressive performance, allowing it to accelerate to 60 miles per hour in less than 6 seconds. Owners generally speak positively about this motor, and there are no major complaints. The Fusion is equipped with the first-generation version of this engine, which has its pros and cons. The second generation features a dual-injection fuel system, which helps address the issue of carbon buildup. In contrast, the first generation uses only direct injection, which is a drawback. Regarding the Kevlar oil pump belt, there is a common misconception that it is installed in both generations of the engine, but this is not the case. Only the second generation is equipped with this belt, while the first generation has a reliable chain, which is a significant advantage. One of the most common issues is oil leakage through the oil pan gasket. Over time, it begins to leak, and repairs can be quite expensive since removing the oil pan is a challenging task. At a dealership, the repair cost can reach up to $2,500, while in regular workshops, the price is usually half as much. Despite the direct fuel injection, carbon buildup in this engine is not a critical problem. It is important to follow basic maintenance principles. Change the oil every 5,000 miles, replace filters, and use high-octane fuel. For motors with direct injection, installing an oil catch can is also recommended. With proper maintenance, the lifespan of this 2.7 EcoBoost can reach up to 280,000 miles, which is quite impressive for a twin-turbo engine. The CF35 transmission is generally a solid component and was used in all non-hybrid versions of the Fusion, except for the model with the 2.7 EcoBoost engine. That engine was paired with the 6F55 transmission, which is essentially a reinforced version of the CF35. For instance, after 130,000 miles, you might start hearing noise due to differential issues. It's common for the bearing seats to become worn. If left unchecked, this can lead to serious repairs. Another weak spot is the valve body. Problems with it may rise around 100,000 miles. This is often related to metal shavings entering the system from a failing torque converter or differential. As a result, the solenoids may start malfunctioning, leading to rapid wear of the friction plates. If you notice jerks when shifting gears when the transmission is hot, the valve body likely needs repair. After a rebuild, its lifespan should be around another 100,000 miles. The torque converter can also cause issues. When you start feeling vibrations, it's a sign that it needs to be replaced. Typically, it lasts up to 140,000, but if vibrations occur earlier, it's better not to delay the repair. Undoubtedly, one of the most dramatic episodes in the history of the second-generation Fusion was the development of its own hybrid model. It all began quite promisingly. Recognizing the potential of the hybrid market, Ford in 2010 decided not to waste time and launched the first hybrid Fusion, aiming to test all available technologies on it. Over time, it became clear that the main goal of this generation was to introduce customers to the hybrid setup, but not much more than that. Expecting anything serious from an aging model, which had been in production since 2006, was difficult. Ford pinned its main hopes on the second generation, and indeed, no expense was spared. In 2011, Ford established the new Van Dyke plant, whose primary purpose was the production of hybrid transmissions for Ford's new models. The design was based on the operational principles of Asian transmissions, and Ford also purchased patents from Toyota, which already had successful experience in creating transmissions for their hybrids. Ford's engineers also standardized and implemented some components from the well-regarded 6F series transmission. For the hybrid vehicle, Ford carefully selected and upgraded the naturally aspirated Duratec 20 engine with port fuel injection. The company consciously avoided experimenting with Ecoboost engines and direct injection, instead opting for reliability. Ford understood the importance of this task and decided to focus on proven technologies to ensure the reliability and stability of the new hybrid model. As a result of this work, in the second half of 2012, a regular hybrid version was released, and in early 2013, a plug-in hybrid version called Energi became available. However, the company made a fatal mistake. Ford launched an aggressive marketing campaign, claiming that the new hybrids achieved 47 miles per gallon, which significantly outperformed the figures of the main competitors. But in practice, these numbers were unattainable. The actual fuel economy hovered around 38 miles per gallon. Customer dissatisfaction led to numerous lawsuits as early as 2013. Studies showed that Ford indeed could not confirm the claimed fuel economy under any conditions. When it became impossible to ignore the problem, the company began a massive recall of vehicles for modifications. To reduce fuel consumption, Ford planned to increase the maximum speed on pure electric power from 62 to 85 miles per hour, optimize the operation of the shutters responsible for cooling the transmission, and even reduce the cooling fan speed. Various methods were used, including cutting engine warm-up time by 50% before switching to electric power, and recommending the use of low-viscosity oil 0W20 instead of the previously prescribed 5W20. It doesn't take an expert to understand what these modifications could lead to. At this point, no one at Ford was thinking about reputation and reliability. The main goal was to squeeze as much fuel efficiency out of the vehicle as possible to avoid massive legal costs. However, the vehicle was not designed for this mode of operation. While the Energi version had an additional electric pump to cool the transmission, the standard mechanical pump of the regular hybrid was not designed for the increased speed limit and other unplanned modifications. All of this led to a significant overheating of the transmission components and the electric motor, as the transmission fluid could not effectively lubricate the internal components, leading to frequent failures. It seemed like things couldn't get worse, but the problems didn't stop there. It turned out that Ford set the oil change interval at 150,000 miles. It's hard to say what the company was thinking when setting such a schedule. Combined with the previous modifications and the extended oil change interval, it was only a matter of time before the transmission would fail. Specialists who repair these transmissions report that few HF35 units make it to 100,000 miles under such maintenance conditions. However, not everything is as bleak as it may seem at first glance. The HF35 transmission is based on a fairly reliable mechanical design, which can last a long time with proper maintenance. Ford boxed itself into a corner, where in pursuit of fuel efficiency, it created service intervals that reduced both fuel consumption and vehicle reliability. But who says we have to follow them? By following simple recommendations, you can significantly extend the life of this transmission. Regardless of the hybrid type, the critical factor is oil changes. The catalog specifies low-viscosity Mercon LV oil, and it should be changed every 30,000 miles. With this maintenance, the HF35 can last up to 180,000 miles. If you're choosing a vehicle with higher mileage, diagnosing the transmission is crucial. When choosing a Fusion, it's preferable to opt for the plug-in hybrid version. The additional electric pump in your transmission plays a crucial role in cooling, but since it's a separate component, it's important to monitor its condition. If it fails, the transmission wear accelerates dramatically. The engine also requires timely and proper maintenance. As mentioned earlier, in the name of fuel efficiency, Ford switched to using lower viscosity oil, which negatively impact reliability. It's recommended to use higher viscosity 5W20 oil, which better maintains its lubricating properties under higher loads compared to 0W20. The oil should be changed no less frequently than every 7,000 miles. Interestingly, Ford exported hybrid Fusion models to Europe, where they were sold under the Mondeo name. For these vehicles, the manual specified 5W20 oil, further indicating that this engine was originally designed to run on higher viscosity oil. The viscosity reduction in the US was solely aimed at avoiding legal repercussions from disappointed customers. With proper maintenance, these engines can easily reach 250,000 miles. The steering rack was once a weak point for the Fusion. You can find numerous complaints online from owners about the loss of steering assist, which could happen even while driving. The issue was with 4 aluminum bolts that secured the electric motor housing to the rack. These bolts often couldn't withstand the load and could break, causing the electric motor to stop working. Ford acknowledged the problem and began replacing the aluminum bolts with steel ones under warranty. Wheel hub bearings also don't stand out for their longevity, typically lasting around 60,000 miles. It's important to note that the bearing can't be replaced separately. It's replaced together with the hub. This simplifies the replacement process but increases the cost of the part. Common signs of failure include noise and vibrations. Overall, the Fusion's suspension is quite resilient but expensive to repair. This is because, like with the hub bearings, suspension components are replaced as entire units, rather than individual parts. You probably won't need to repair the suspension of the Ford Fusion before reaching 130,000 miles. The Ford Fusion is a vehicle that should be recommended with caution, as not all of its engines offer the same level of dependability. The smaller Ecoboost engines have developed a poor reputation and are not structurally sound. Hybrid versions, while featuring engines and transmissions that seem solid, were undermined by a misleading marketing campaign and subsequent changes aimed at reducing fuel consumption to avoid lawsuits, ultimately compromising the hybrids. However, with more frequent maintenance than what is recommended, these hybrids can still perform well. Among them, the Energi version is the better choice. If you're considering a Ford Fusion and want to minimize risk, the version with a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine and front-wheel drive is your best bet. It's more economical than the 2.7-liter option and will help keep your costs low.